This episode, as with all episodes, exists thanks to the supporters of the show who contribute a mere $3 per month via patreon.com/copytradersclub. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your support. Copytraders Club, where you can learn how to make better decisions and more money copy trading. I'm Gavin McCauley, my name and username on eToro. Today we talk to a renowned UK YouTuber with a passion for personal finance, budgeting, investing, and all-round prosperity. Here we go. Season 2, Episode 31 of the Copytraders Club podcast, and as always, my aim as an eToro enthusiast is to demystify this new and uncharted world of copy trading, understand what are the pitfalls and best practices, and how ultimately to succeed as a copy trader. In chats like today's, the aim is to answer all your questions about this popular investor, and reveal more about them than anywhere else, so you can assess whether they might suit you. In this episode, we talk to Jennifer Kempson, aka Mamafurfur, who has come to the Copytraders Clubhouse all the way from the great city of Glasgow. And here she comes the new. Jennifer, hello, welcome to Copytraders Club.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're delighted to have you. We've been in communication, in a manner of speaking, for quite some time, so it's great to finally see you. As you know, you have to answer a series of quickfire questions to get past security. Ready for those?
Yes, go for it.
Username on eToro.
At Mamafurfur.
Date you joined eToro.
January 2019, I think.
Did you become a popular investor?
August 2021.
Year of birth?
1981.
Place of residence?
Glasgow.
Profession?
Content creator.
Briefly state what you aim to achieve on eToro.
A passive income source for myself and others who copy me.
Name one of your investing heroes.
Oh, goodness. We've got to say Warren Buffett, haven't we, usually? Warren Buffett.
Name one of your favourite investing books.
Oh, really like I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramachandran.
That completes the formalities. Let's proceed now into the VIP section of the clubhouse, the wonderful Copy Traders Lounge. Jennifer Kempson, aka Mamafurfur, are you ready for this magical transition?
Yes.
Okay, Jennifer, here we are now in the lounge. You take a seat. Can I get you a little drink or anything?
I've got one already.
I like your style. Okay. As you say, you're in Glasgow, Scotland.
Yes.
How are things in Glasgow?
Yes, they're very good. Yeah, the sun's shining today. Not too bad at all.
Are you in mourning?
I think myself personally, I think we knew it was coming at some point, with the Queen passing away and things, but I don't think I'm in mourning. I think I'm more in anticipation of what the country will look like moving forward as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, big changes are going on.
Mm.
It's history in the making.
Yes, yeah.
And is yours a football household? I know Glasgow's football crazy. I wonder what colours are draped over your doorway.
No, it's not a football household. No, we won't mention any particular teams or anything. Blue or green? Is that the colour choice?
Well, I don't know if you know, but Felix Felix, the guy, the Felix Felix YouTube channel?
No, I've never seen it, no. Oh, actually, no, is that the chap, is it American or Canadian?
No, he's a Scottish guy. He's from Edinburgh.
Oh, well, never mind then.
And he makes all these
Okay.
videos. He makes all these videos about eToro.
All right, well, I haven't watched him yet, no.
Okay. Well, he's very informative, and he's a Rangers fan, and I like to wind him up about how much better Celtic are. But anyway, unfortunately, we can't have any such conversation today because you're
No, I'm afraid not. I don't watch
you're
football.
not flying any flag. Okay, fair enough. So, how did I come across you, Jennifer? The answer was from watching your YouTube videos. From the moment I think you started making videos about eToro, I wasn't familiar with your stuff prior to then.
Okay,
But
yep.
I then took a little journey around your videos from before that. But I was mostly interested in eToro content. And I don't know if you remember, but I left comments on some of your videos way back then saying, shortly after you had joined, a few months into your eToro experience, I said, if you keep going like this, you're going to be invited to be a PI. And you were like, oh, no, not at all. It's just a wee bit fun. Or words to that effect. And here you are, quite a high profile, popular investor.
Right,
so
yep.
That's been quite an interesting journey, and we're going to discuss that today. Do you remember that comment?
I don't remember that particular one, but I do know that you have commented on videos. I remember seeing you.
And the video series that I started watching about eToro with you was your monthly challenge. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, so for about a year and a half or so on my channel, from about January 2020, Matt and I on the channel every month would have a challenge where we'd have $50 and we'd have to pick one different stock or one different index fund or whatever, we really fancied at that month. And the goal being over the series of a year, in comparison, who could make the most profit on what we were choosing. So a little bit of a competitive edge. A little bit of banter and fun as we tried to figure out, who could make the most profit really as quickly as possible. And it had to be different stocks from each other and explain why we were picking those and what insight that we felt in tune to.
And that's how your eToro journey began. There was a bit of confusion over who won at the end of the year. Or at least I was a bit confused. You were both claiming victory.
The first year, I think Matt won slightly, but this year, obviously, it's kind of come to an end before we've summarised it. So I think it'll be myself just leading what we're doing moving forward, and the profit and things, documenting and how I'm getting on with the portfolio that way.
Okay, so that's how you came to eToro. What was your channel all about prior to that, and what were you all about prior to that?
So my channel has always been about just sharing my journey around money and budgeting and learning about investing. Because we had debt, we had about £24,000 worth of consumer debt, and I was reading all these different books and money books and strategies, and I just couldn't find anyone from the UK talking about money or anything like that, particularly on YouTube. And so I decided it would be really quite good fun to pick up a camera and start talking about money and share my experiences. And so over the course of learning about money, I then learned about investing. And I'd never heard about investing before. It'd always been, put it in a bank account, hadn't really thought about pensions or anything like that. So as part of that journey, I was then learning about investment platforms. And at that time, I think it was about 2018 or so, there wasn't that many choices in the UK either. We just basically had, I think, Vanguard and maybe Hargreaves Lansdown. It was really, or your bank. It was a really limited choice. So I decided I would make videos about the platforms that I could find. And I think one day eToro approached me through email and just said, we've got a platform as well. And I thought, right, I'll have a wee look, as you do. And that kind of led me on another option to start finding out about their platform and actually investing with them as well.
Very good. And they reached out to you because your YouTube channel is so red hot. You're closing in on 100,000 subscribers.
Very close. Yeah, I think, back then I didn't have anywhere near that. I think I maybe had about 5,000 or 6,000 subscribers or so. And I think in the nature of the business that I'm in, you get a lot of emails of people saying, oh, could you test our product? Can you have a look at it? And for me, it's always one that I look at the platforms, but if I don't feel that I would want to invest on it myself, I don't look at it. I'll just have an honest opinion if I think it's good or worthwhile or anything. So eToro was one of the ones that came up, and I thought, right, I'm going to have a little look and see if I can play around and understand it as well.
Okay, so before you got into the whole personal finance and budgeting thing, what were you doing as a job or professionally prior to that?
So I was in sales. I was in IT sales for all of my career. So 14 years or so. I worked for the biggest IT providers in the world, a lot of your main manufacturing of computing. And so that's what I was doing for a living right the way up to last January 2021. I left full-time and went YouTube full-time instead.
Very good. And you haven't looked back since?
Nope, this is me making videos, making content now.
Well, congratulations on your success. It's a wonderful story.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And your channel is all about, well, we'll talk about it a little bit more later, but your channel, I think, is unique or unlike other channels because of the sense of community I feel from your commenters and things on your video. It's like people watch all your videos, they know you, they think I think what they see is that you're a real person, not some sort of smarmy finance type telling them how to do it. It's very sort of, there's a kind of kitchen sink realism to it.
Okay, yep. That's excellent then. If it comes across.
That's what you're going for.
Yeah, I think I want it to be that it's a real person that's, that's actually investing and saving money and that kind of journey that I'm sharing. Absolutely. Okay,
so let the listener get to know you, Jennifer, a little bit better when you tell us something you're very bad at.
Very bad at. Until recently, or I'm learning, I'm not very good at drawing. So I've been trying to teach myself how to draw and paint and things like that. And I think that's a very practical thing. I'm not very good at making decisions sometimes. So I'm trying to get better at that as well.
Okay, and let's have a question from the art of people. If you could choose a number between 1 and 10 that isn't 7, because everyone chooses 7.
Oh, wow. 9.
Who has been the most important influence on you?
Wow. Who? So I was going to answer just say life itself has been the biggest influence, but who? That's a deep question. I think I'm always inspired by people who devote their life to serving others. So came into my mind like Mother Teresa and people like that. So I'm always inspired when people feel they've got a message or feel they've got something to give, that they serve completely in that way. So I'm going to go with that answer. So I'm thinking of, rather than one person, I'm thinking of the kind of characteristic traits rather than one specific person.
Okay, Jennifer, let's delve a little bit deeper now as we turn our attention to your profile on eToro. If I could ask you to read from your bio, can you just read the sections about me and investing strategy?
So my bio says that I'm a Scottish-based long-term investor and personal finance YouTuber, podcaster, author, entrepreneur. I'm a champion level popular investor at the moment. I hold the International Certificate in Wealth and Investment Management, and I also have a Master Engineering Honours. My hobbies include reading, keeping active, travel, and music. My investing strategy is I only make long-term investments for a stress-free, peace-of-mind portfolio, 95% of my portfolio. I don't use leverage or shorts, and I have limited crypto trades. I mainly invest in global, regional index funds and some individual stocks.
You're a champion level popular investor at the moment. You used to be elite.
Yes, I did. Yes. So Do you know the requirements for elite level? Has anyone ever discussed them before on the podcast?
Yeah.
So it's obviously the size of your amount that you're investing, but there's also, they recently changed it that you have to be exclusive to eToro. You can only recommend eToro, and you can't recommend friends or family to any other investment sites. And I wasn't able to sign that contract, so I had to move down to champion level.
Oh, that's very interesting. I was going to ask you about that later on, because I know you have a whole range of areas where you discuss with your viewers, loads of different platforms, loads of different places to put your money.
Yes.
So they didn't like that.
So I don't know if it was a new change to the term. So I became an elite investor, and then it was only a couple of months ago they asked me to sign that contract to stay as an elite investor. Now, they could change the terms and conditions, obviously, moving forward, but at the moment you had to sign that particular contract, and I couldn't do it because I'm talking about Vanguard, I'm talking about Trading 2, and it would mean not being able to do that, so I wasn't able to sign it.
Yes, note for the record, I am not talking about any of those platforms in this conversation. So how does that inform your view of eToro going forward then?
I'm still the same investor. So obviously being an elite popular investor as opposed to a champion doesn't change anything about me. Obviously, in the terms of the scales, you've got elite and you've got elite pro, and they are incredibly good at what they do and manage it. It's just, in terms of the categorization, I suppose it's for the popular investor themselves. It's the access to different products and services that you get from being in the different levels, and also some of the way that they reward you from being a popular investor changes as well.
Well, that's what I was thinking, really, is the incentive for you. Well, if you can't progress to elite, then there's not that much incentive for you to add to your assets under copy.
So for me, I'm just happy for people to copy my portfolio. It's not the way I'm managing it isn't going to change whether I'm champion or elite, if that makes sense. And I have the requirement already for elite level in terms of size. So for me, it's a platform that I'm using, and obviously being elite was a great place to be, because you've got access to different things. You've got webinars you can go to, you can physically, they have award ceremonies and different things like it's part of a more exclusive club, if you like, the further up the different levels that you go. But just for me, it's a wee bit sad that I'm not able to be part of that right now. But as I say, they could change their terms and conditions for those levels at some point.
I can understand their desire for their top performers on their platform to be exclusively promoting their own platform. But it's interesting that change has come about at the same time as the reduction in payments across the board, particularly at the top end. It's quite interesting, isn't it?
I haven't been really focusing on the other changes, if there's been changes to payments or anything like that. I was just more looking at that bit of paper going, well, actually, I can't sign that. I can't, I want to be able to talk about other platforms to my viewers. So if that's the term and condition, then I can't sign it right there and then.
Well, as a champion, you're going to be getting a fixed $500 a month going forward.
Oh, is it moved from 800? Was 800?
Yeah, it used to be between 4 and 8.
Yes.
So they've split it down the middle to 5. Anyway, let's move on. The other thing I want to ask you about that was your CC3 qualification. I really enjoyed the video you made about your journey to become a popular investor and your experience of doing your CC3 exam. I see a lot of PIs on eToro just sort of mention, oh yeah, I've got the CC3, like it ain't no thing. Your video, in keeping with all the rest of your channel, is very honest, warts and all, sort of, this is the reality of it. I haven't done an exam for X number of years, long time. And you used a variety of methods to get through the exam or to study. You studied in super quick time. Normally it takes 3 months and you did it in 1 month.
Yeah, I set myself a challenge.
Wow. That's an incredible challenge, especially if you're not steeped in this stuff. You don't come from that world, I think.
Mm.
You used the online revision pack that CISI provided in a big thick book and a text-to-speech app so you could listen to that. And also there's an online training academy you used. Tell us about that.
For me, in terms of how I learn, I'm very much like visual based as well. So rather than just reading a textbook, if somebody can explain the concepts, and a lot of the concepts within the textbook were worked examples. So the exam itself is a lot of multiple choice, but you've got to know the formula, you've got to understand how to get the right answer. So I was just looking online. I wanted to kind of learn with a group of people, and one of these training academies popped up, and I reached out to them and said, look, I'd really love to use your services. And then, can I document how I find it? Can I give you feedback? And so the company that I found were really, like, their system was really good, nice lectures that I could understand. And as part of the process, I was able to actually give them feedback about, okay, this could maybe help people studying for the exam the next time. And a lot of the time for me, when I was doing the exam, it was just simply doing lots of exam questions. That's the best way that I found to learn. So reading through the textbook, trying to work out what's the key information, draw from that, but just sit as many times going through questions after questions because it's 100 mark exam, and that, you'll never see these questions usually before. And so you've got, you're trying to get a gist of like what are the key topics and key things that you have to learn. So often by looking at the exam, that kind of helps you.
Yes, and you said that was one of the best things about using that online training academy, CCL. They sort of indicated what the key elements were for the test.
Yes, yeah.
So you're sort of, it's a hurdle to get over. So you're working to the exam. The key point is to pass this exam, right? Do you feel like that was the exercise entirely, or did you learn a lot?
The particular international certificate that I chose to do, I felt like a lot of the information I knew already, because it was a very kind of general information about investing and different types of investments. The thing that was new was all the formula. There was a lot of different formulas in terms of working at the averages, median, modes. And so unless you knew exactly what they wanted in terms of the formula, the outcome of that was something that was quite difficult. But I think overall, though, I did find the academy itself was really useful because they were gearing you up for passing the exam, but I wouldn't have known the types of exam questions that would have come up unless I had gone through the academy, just because I wouldn't have known the particular formulas that they wanted and things like that, and the particular scenarios to answer.
So you would recommend the training academy, particularly to people who don't come from that world?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good way to learn and study, to get the feedback and to also prep for the exam.
Well, congratulations on doing it in a month. That's very impressive.
Thank you very much.
Let's have a quick look at your results. As you say, you joined in March 2020, and your end of year stat for 2020 is 29.5%. Then 2021, 22%. And 2022 year to date, minus 11.5%. How do you feel about your performance so far on eToro? Happy?
Overall, I am happy. I put in quite a large chunk of money about 7 or 8 months ago or so. So I'm still waiting to gain some growth on that. I know this year in particular, when we're looking at, even index funds and trackers, the S&P 500 is down 18, 19% at the moment when you're doing comparisons. It's been a really transient year. So I'm hoping that the rest of the year picks up. But I think if I'm seeing all investors and, pretty much all the PIs as well, it is a difficult year to be making growth on it.
Sure, there's very few in profit at this stage of the game.
Yeah.
And potentially even fewer by the time the year is out.
Possibly.
Oh, we'll see. So as we discussed earlier, you started on eToro. You were doing this challenge between you and Matt, picking a stock a month to see who could come out on top. So that would account for some of your earlier stats on eToro.
Yeah.
Was it when you became a PI you decided, well, I can't be a PI with this kind of approach? If I'm going to be a popular investor, if people are going to copy me, I need to change my approach to this portfolio?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I wanted to make it a portfolio that was similar to my other investments, so that people were copying me, then they're getting a sense of actually how I invest overall. So with like Vanguard and, that's the majority of my portfolios with Vanguard in a way. I like how things are spread over index funds and trackers. So I wanted to give people the option within eToro a similar strategy, that this is how I invest. And recently, the large chunk of money that I put in just at the start of the year, that was mimicking life strategy funds as best as I could as well. So getting that blend of a global index fund and trackers. We've got some Japan, we've got emerging markets in there. It was to give them that stability, that it wasn't just individual companies, being picked once a month. It was kind of more similar to what I'm actually investing in long term.
Let's just continue to run through these headline stats. Your risk score, let me describe your risk score to the listener. It's a green picture. Back 12 and 11 months ago, it was average and max risk of 3. It's now kind of average and max risk of 4, more or less, most months. Occasionally, the max risk jumps up to 5 a little bit. But that's a very low risk score for eToro. Everyone has seen their risk score rise over the course of the last 12 months, but yours hasn't risen a great deal at all. Are you happy with that? Do you want to maintain that level of risk score? Is that important to you?
I think so. I don't want it to feel like people are taking too much of a chance or a risk on what they're investing in. And I want my own portfolio to be quite stable. And so I think sometimes like the cryptocurrency and things like that can pull it down, depending on, I've got some Ethereum and things like that in there. So and some of the individual stocks, it only makes up about 3 or 4% of my portfolio. Some of them I know have been hit. I've got Cineworld. I've got, I think I've got Beyond Meat isn't doing, too well compared to what I paid for it. But I know that they have brought down the overall kind of stability a little bit. I think the index funds and trackers, because just globally we're seeing this volatility, equally that's making it, fluctuate as well.
And trades per week and average holding time. Let's have a look at that. Trades per week, 0.78. Average holding time, 14 months. So not exactly a day trader.
No, I'm not a day trader, no. Not with that portfolio, no.
Every time I have a PI on here to chat, we discuss communication, and each time it's a different level of communication. Obviously, coming from the background that you do, communication is not going to be an issue. Certainly, a lack of communication is not going to be an issue. So you've got your YouTube channel, your Mamafurfur website. You also do a podcast, all of which are linked to on your bio on eToro.
The YouTube channel is really to do with the investing and the eToro and other investment sites part of it. In terms of the website, that's more like an information base. So if you want to find out more about me and the things that I'm involved in, that can kind of send you to different places. The podcast is a more general life prosperity podcast. So we touch upon money, but it's not the only topic. We wouldn't go into investing topics directly on that.
That reminds me of another video I saw on your YouTube channel, which I hope you don't mind talking about, where you were talking about the stresses and strains of life and mental health and things like that. Do you find a pressure as a PI upon your mental health if you've got people copying you, I wonder?
I think you're very aware that other people are using their money as well to do what you're doing. I think though, when you're making any investments, you have to think about, okay, it's my money I'm using in there. I'm going to make the best judgment I can based on what I think is the right strategy. And that's why I don't cash and sell out. A lot of times, a lot of people will try and time the market and say, right, okay, it's going higher and lower, very focused on that. But for me, I want everyone to grow long term as this portfolio grows. That's the kind of basis of it for years to come. So You always go in with it with the best intention. So I don't know if it affects your mental health. What you do hope is that you're picking things that long term are going to grow, and if people want to copy that as well, they're on that journey with you.
Do you think your honesty in discussing issues like we just mentioned is part of the reason why your channel's so successful? Because you show vulnerability as well as success?
I think with everyone, we relate to stories and journeys, don't we? Of people that we are maybe similar to us or have similar issues or similar problems and things. So I just always wanted to pick up a camera and share what was going on in life as much as I could. And, if people resonate towards that, then that's incredible. It's just a thing that I really do love, just chatting and talking to people and sharing what I'm going through as well. And, as part of that journey in life.
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Copytraders Club.
Copytraders Club.
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Copytraders Club.
Copytraders Club.
Okay, let's turn our attention now to your portfolio. Jennifer, if I can describe to the listener, asset class allocation, ETFs, 92%, stocks, 7%, and crypto, about 0.5%. Those are rough figures, and that's your invested amount. You also have a 10% cash position. I believe that cash position is more or less a permanent feature. Is that right? I saw you saying in one of your videos you like to have a 10% cash buffer.
Yep. So for me, that's more about just that backbone. First of all, if there's anything going cheap, if we have dips, I can buy in. But also, I think it's important when you've got a kind of investment portfolio in any way that you allow yourself opportunities that if you do need some of it very quick, you're not waiting for the end of day to cash out. It gives you that opportunity as well. But mainly, if there's any opportunities to buy, it allows me to do it, quite quick and get that sale in when I see it.
Okay, you've got 11 ETFs, 20 stocks, and 1 crypto that you mentioned earlier, which is Ethereum. Okay, so let's talk about some of these ETFs. Your largest position is CSP1, which is listed in London. That's the iShares Core S&P 500 ETF. Now, the first thing to say about that is 33% of your portfolio as per current value. Is that okay with eToro to have such a large position?
They haven't suggested it's not okay. So, as I said, like my portfolio, I wanted to mimic as much of the life strategy Vanguard funds. I really enjoy them, invest in them, and in Vanguard itself. And so for me, I wanted to have a main focus on US, UK, but also global as well.
It says somewhere that I think it's part of the guidelines. You're not supposed to have over 20% of your portfolio in a single asset.
Right, okay.
It doesn't appear to be enforced. There's plenty of PIs that have a larger position. Okay, the next 3 ETFs are all over 10% each, and they are IEMG, Emerging Markets, IEUR, Europe, and ISF, the FTSE 100.
Yep.
And then there's a bunch of other ETFs, including World Index, Real Estate, Japan, more S&P. So 92% of your portfolio is described there. Right. So you're essentially an ETF investor.
Yes.
And the stocks that you have, 20 of them, are they all like legacy positions from when you began, or are you still buying stocks?
Those are from the previous times when I was buying. And a lot of the individual stocks that I have bought are companies that I'm using anyway. So you'll see a lot of familiar brands in there. I've also got some technology companies as well that I particularly like, companies that I've worked for in the past as well. I tend to buy and hold them because I really believe that long term their value will go up. There is obviously some of the companies that have gone down since I've bought them, but I'm leaving them for the next couple. I'll leave them for goodwill, and there were very small positions, which is what I kind of enjoy. I like the fact that it was only $40 or $50 in these companies to see how it worked out. Some of the investments have done really great, doubled, tripled and things like that. But I like just putting a little bit of money in the individual companies.
So I'm just trying to work out who you used to work for here. Is it okay if I say that? I guess.
It's okay if you want.
Well, I think Cisco is an obvious one.
No, it was Dale, actually. Dale.
Okay, so let's move on to your stocks then. All of them are 0.19% in your invested column. Now, if we go back to your bio, one of the things we didn't read was minimum recommended amount is $500, and it says in brackets you can copy from 200 plus.
Yes.
But if your smallest positions are 0.19, $500 isn't going to copy those. It has to be 526. For them to be copied, they have to be 0.2. So somewhere by adding, I don't know what's happened, but it must be very difficult to manage, but they were 0.2 and they've just gone down below that.
Right,
so
okay.
You might want to revise that. And in fact, your Ethereum position is the smallest, isn't it? 0.15. So technically speaking, you'd have to divide 100 by 0.15 to get the minimum copy amount. And what do you mean when you say you can copy from 200, as in that's the eToro minimum?
So yeah, at the time when I put the bio together, that was the minimum amount that you could copy. I think it's still the case. I don't believe they allow smaller amounts. So it was more to give people recommendations of what size would allow, kind of maximum or getting some of the growth, getting that balance in their portfolio.
And in the last week's episode, we were talking all about this minimum copy amount stuff and how it should really be a field somewhere instead of having to work it out and things changing. It should be a field somewhere that shows copiers what's the minimum amount you need to copy this PI. But there's talk of, the whole copy trading system changing from the invested column to the value column.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard this. And if that does, then it's, in your case, Cineworld and Beyond Meat, as you mentioned earlier. They're the ones that have fallen to the lowest amount. They're 0.04, which would mean 2,500 to copy and get those positions. But anyway, that's all possibly in the future. Who knows? For now, it's about 500. And if I was you, I'd say like 550 is your minimum copy amount, or maybe a bit more, just to give a bit of wiggle room. Oh, you'd need to work it out according to Ethereum.
Yep, 666.667.
So currently that is your minimum copy amount.
Right, okay. I'll update that then.
As you say, 92% of your portfolio is in ETFs. So everyone's getting all of those. All right, let's talk about desync. There's a little bit of desync in the ETFs, but not a great deal. Most of the desync comes from your smallest positions, as we were just discussing. Palo Alto Networks, for example, is 0.19% invested, but has risen to 0.51% of the portfolio. A big rise for it, but not significant in terms of copy or desync.
Yep.
You've just described a moment ago how you're in it for the long term. You're not going to be buying and selling. You're not trying to time the market. Makes me wonder, how is your approach going to change at all as we enter what could be a very turbulent time, or we're already in it, really? Things are down. And I don't know what sense you get from your intake of macro information as to where things are going. There's a large school of thought that suggests we're in for a terrible next few quarters.
I think always in the long term, we hope that things will improve. And I do, though, think with the cost of living crisis and everything that's happening, it is going to be tricky for investors and, currency and all that ahead. But it's still my hope that money and investments will grow over time as the whole world wants to progress. But I think, we can't assume that every year that it's going to be that constant, just growth over the year. It's going to go up and down. as things go. So all you can do is invest money that you feel comfortable with, and then whatever lies ahead, we just keep hoping that it'll get better.
Are you planning to add funds as things go down and increase your position sizes or anything?
No, it would be more that I would use the cash that's already in there if I thought anything was going to drop. But I don't think I'm going to add any more money at the moment. I think I'm going to kind of just leave it as it is.
And you don't have any plans to remove the stocks and become all ETFs or anything like that? You're happy to let those ride?
I think so as well. The couple of ones at the bottom, I'm keeping an eye on, like Cineworld, seeing how they do. Because it was such small amounts, though, obviously for those companies, my hope is that they recover. But equally, as we've explained, it's not the majority of my portfolio. So, I think I'm still hopeful they are going to recover and make back what they made overall. So that then I would maybe consider cashing out at that point. But I want them to do well in the future.
Well, Palo Alto Networks, as we've just mentioned, did very well. It's more than doubled.
And they're due to do a stock split as well. That's been forecasted down the line.
So you're definitely going to hold on to that, baby?
I think so. All
right, Jennifer, tell us about your best and worst investments.
So in terms of my worst investment, if you want to categorise it, that's probably Cineworld. I would have really loved, though, them to come out of the pandemic and to have made a full recovery. And I'm still hopeful that they will, because obviously it was a cinema that we used to go to all the time. I think it's definitely one of the key things we like to do as a family and things like that. So I'm not going to classify it as my worst, although my hope was that it wouldn't have struggled as much the past couple of months, certainly.
Yeah, I used to love going to the cinema myself, but these days, if I didn't have a kid, I wouldn't dream of it. Because like everyone's got massive TVs at home. You're in the comfort of your own lazy boy. You don't have to go somewhere where there's other people eating crisps and looking at their phones. And then there's the pandemic and all that. I think it's a tough industry. There's big secular movements away from the classic cinema, isn't
it? Yeah. We're seeing a shift in how people enjoy entertainment overall, aren't we?
Let's move on to copiers. What kind of copier should copy Mamafurfur? And why do you call yourself Mamafurfur?
So what kind of copier should copy me? Again, I'm just hopeful that it's people who want long-term growth on their portfolios. So they want it to be that they're not necessarily having to worry that someone's buying and selling constantly, that they've got, that constant growth in mind of their portfolio. I'm using my own money exactly the same. So, you're kind of following that. And yeah, it's just for that kind of peace of mind, the long-term growth. That's what I would hope people would copy me and want to enjoy long-term. Why am I called Mamafurfur? Well, it's kind of a nickname that I've had for maybe about 7-8 years or so now. So the mama part is obviously because I'm a mother, and Furfur was a name that I had at work one time. Somebody called me Furfur, and so I was starting a blog when my oldest boy was born, and it was just going to be about motherhood, and I wanted something kind of catchy, and so Mamafurfur came about, just the two combined, and it's stuck. It's not specific to investing or anything, it's just stuck. And so when I started doing YouTube and writing, it was just the name that I was already vlogging and creating content under, so it just stuck there.
Well, it's funny, when I talk to people, they always regret their choice of username on eToro because the username is front and center. But I see that's changing now. They're displaying the actual name on eToro above the username on certain pages anyway. Yeah, like when I'm on your page, it's Jennifer Kempson, and then in small writing underneath, @Mamafurfur.
Yeah.
And who shouldn't copy you if it's not too obvious from your previous answer?
If you're looking for someone who's going to make like instant growth with your money, if you're looking for same day results or anything like that, I'm not the person to copy, because it is going to be long term. It really depends on what kind of sell. Also, I know a lot of people do enjoy investing in a lot more diverse, a lot more of the newer sectors, let's say a lot more crypto or a lot of upcoming companies. It's really about what you particularly want to invest your money in. So I think mine is more about the world growing rather than picking individual companies that are going to give that growth as well.
I wonder, do you have a larger than usual following from YouTube and your other channels that's female, and therefore that's the same in eToro?
Oh wow, okay.
Sensitive question to ask a female PI. I don't want to be cancelled, but what I mean is your whole story and background is about family finances and maybe women taking control of that, mums taking control. Your Mamafurfur, you're going to attract more females, I think, to your social media activities.
So when you look at the demographics, I think it's about 60% guys, 40% female that follow me. Within eToro, you can't see the gender. Obviously, it's not disclosed in any way. You just see the usernames. I would like to hope that there's a blend of all people wanting to copy me rather than just one particular niche. But obviously, I'm a female. That's all that I can lead and talk with. So if people resonate towards me, then they're going to do so.
The 60-40 split is, say, on YouTube, for example?
On YouTube, yes. Yeah, but obviously that's not direct comparison to eToro.
Well, I imagine for an investing or money channel, 40% is very high on the female side.
It would tend to be more males probably that search, although we are seeing a lot more females getting into investing now, because there is a lot of, education and buzz to make sure everyone gets all the information that they need, really. But yeah, it tends to be slightly weighted more towards males, because I think naturally in the past they were probably searching more, especially in the pandemic as well.
Okay, here's a question that might sound a bit rude, but it's not meant to. Jennifer Kempson, what makes you so special?
What makes me so special? I'm just me. I'm just sharing my journey and sharing what we're doing in terms of our money and our investments and everything like that. So if I'm probably no special from anyone else, but hopefully, being able to share the journey so far then allows people to, decide for themselves if they want to copy me or not.
Okay, and let's talk about eToro for a second. Are there any changes you would love to see on the platform, particularly?
I find when we touched upon this a little bit, when you add funds, I feel like that is a little bit confusing sometimes for users. When a PI adds funds, we've kind of got to explain, okay, do you want to close down trades? Do you want to keep them open? It's not really as smooth as just simply automatically, copying exactly what the person's doing. So I'd like to see that improved, so that when we're adding funds, that we don't need to keep explaining, okay, this is your options. But I think when people get the little box appear, it can be quite off-putting, a bit intimidating. I like that in terms of the social aspect. I think that's really good that we can obviously talk and ask questions, and people can chat to you and get feedback in that way. But a little bit more on that side would be really great, that kind of what to do when we're adding funds in that way.
You mentioned the social aspect. I know you've been involved in quite a few other sort of initiatives, haven't you? Tell us just a little bit about those.
So in terms of eToro, I've been involved in particular, they're wanting to encourage female investors within the space. So I've been involved with them. I'm also in the UK, I'm part of the STEM ambassadors, which is science, tech, engineering and maths. So really to try and get people encouraged in maths and engineering and investing in that way. But it's through probably eToro themselves, wanting to highlight female PIs and investors that have been involved in some of the initiatives that they've had as well.
And what other PI would you say you know best on a personal level?
Oh, so there's three that stand out. So I speak to Shan Conley. I don't know if you've ever spoken to her. Heloise, which is obviously, she was the first ever Elite Pro. And then Neza. Have you spoken to Neza?
All former guests on the show.
There you go then. So those are the three that I follow, and I reached out and spoke to them actually when I was doing the qualifications, and they were really helpful in terms of giving advice, because all three of them are elite level or above. Obviously, Heloise is Elite Pro. So yeah, really, really nice women who were more than willing to share some insight and help, to help encourage other people up the levels.
And you didn't make it down to London for a couple of G&Ts with them?
No, I haven't yet. No, I haven't travelled yet, no.
But the PI meetup?
So they weren't able to help with travel, unfortunately, down on that particular occasion, so I couldn't actually attend.
Final question, Jennifer. What's the one question that I haven't asked during this conversation that you wish I had?
Oh, wow. I suppose the question maybe for all of us is what kind of legacy as well with our investing, that we, what do we want our investing to stand for? And I think for me, I'd always want my investing to be like improving the world in some way. So I'm very conscious of, I'll do checks as much as I can on ESG and, keep an eye on actually how the companies are using the investors' money. And I know obviously with index funds and trackers, that changes constantly. But I think you always hope that your investments are actually helping to make the world better. So I think that would have been quite an interesting question. Like, what's the legacy for my investments that I would have liked to make as well?
All right, Jennifer, it's been a delight to talk to you. I know you're a very busy mum. You've got to get on with your duties today.
Yes.
So thank you so much for taking the time to drop by Copytraders Club.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
There you go, listener. I hope you enjoyed the nurturing embrace of Mamafurfur. Good luck to Jennifer and her copiers. It'll be interesting to see how her eToro career goes and whether its significance in her overall personal finance journey grows or lessens over time. That's all from me. See you on Discord and Facebook. Until next time we meet at Copytraders Club, I wish you many happy returns. Obviously, anything here in this podcast is for entertainment only, not financial advice. Do your own research. This is just generic chit-chat. We don't know your individual circumstances, etc., and so forth.